Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, December 1st, 2014 meeting of the Lewis County Board of County Commissioners. We are a quorum this morning. All three commissioners are present, and we will begin with the flag salute. If you'll stand, Commissioner Schulte will lead.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move that we approve the minutes of November 24th, 2014.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of November 24th. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Public comment. We have three people signed up for comment. Hal Washburn. Would you like to comment? Is this on the general comment or is this on the hearing?
That's the general comment.
Okay, come on up. State your name and address, please.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Hal Washburn. I live on 186 Calvin Road in Cinnabar, and I'm here to address you this morning on some laws that have recently gone into effect via Initiative I-594. These new laws are concerning firearms in the state of Washington, and they are unconstitutional laws. These laws have been passed in the same fashion that Obamacare was thrust upon the population of this country, by deceit, by lying and misrepresentation by a small group of wealthy individuals whose ultimate goal is the confiscation of firearms throughout this country and the abolishment of our Second Amendment. I have been a law-abiding citizen my entire life. I have no arrest record. I've had a concealed pistol permit in a number of different states virtually all of my adult life. I know the meanings of the words "shall not be infringed" or "shall not be impaired," which are in both our state and federal constitutions. These laws are a direct assault on our right to keep and bear arms, with the ultimate goal of gun confiscation. In our country today, our present administration has corrupted virtually our entire federal government. Every federal agency out there is attacking the rights of the American citizens, not only the right to keep and bear arms, but the right to free speech, the right to practice religion, the right to a free press, etc. The right to keep and bear arms is the crown jewel of our Bill of Rights, and without it, the others are completely unenforceable. I, for one, do not intend to comply with these new laws, and I will do everything possible to see these laws repealed or ignored or whatever we need to do. But I have to believe that the people behind this have no love for this country, no respect for our founding documents, and that really makes me angry. And I think it's important that you, as community leaders and elected officials, get a feeling for the community. And I am not alone in my feelings. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Bob Bozarth.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the time. I'm Bob Bozarth, and I reside at 247-06 Woodard Road, Napavine, Washington. I have a letter for each one of you, and I don't know what the proper procedure is. Do I hand it to her?
Thank you.
Mr. Washburn did an excellent job of explaining our case, and I'm trying not to be repetitious, but the reason we're bringing this to you is because as elected officials of Lewis County, you need to know our feelings. And my personal feeling is this people's initiative should have never got to this point to begin with. It was passed up by the House as well as the Senate in the state of Washington. And the senators and the representatives also swore an oath to the Constitution of the state of Washington and the United States Constitution, as well you all did. This law is unconstitutional by both accounts. And this is what happens when we enter into a democracy, as opposed to a republic, which is our form of government in the United States. This should have been killed at the House as well as the Senate and never went to a democracy of the people. So now that it's got to this point, I am asking for your consideration to honor the oath that you took and do not allow this to be implemented in Lewis County. Thank you for your time.
Robin Roy.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Robin Roy. I live at 186 Calvin Road in Cinnabar. And I'm here to state, like Bob and Hal have, that this is an unconstitutional law. It should have never been brought forth. We have a constitutional republic, and this was brought forth and pushed by Michael Bloomberg, Paul Allen, owner of the Seahawks, and Bill Gates. These are wealthy, wealthy billionaires who've used their money to force their agenda, which is a gun-free America, on the rest of us. And it really upsets me that they have used their money to push their ideas forth. Every time, and this is a gun registration, make no doubt about it, this is a gun registration. Every gun registration, from Stalin to Hitler, has led to gun confiscation. Every single time. I'm asking you as our commissioners, you know that this did not pass in Lewis County. We want you to stand up for our rights as American citizens, to abide by our Bill of Rights and our Constitution. Like Hal, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have never been arrested in my life. I've passed numerous background checks. I'm involved in the various schools to help teaching here. I'm telling you, if I were to show my gun to Edna, and Edna were to hold it, we would both be guilty of misdemeanors. When she handed it back, we would both be guilty of felonies and lose our opportunity to vote. This is absolutely wrong and should not be tolerated. And I'm asking for you to speak up for the citizens of our county that elected you. Do the right thing. Abide by the oath that you took, and please do not implement this in Lewis County. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else, Chair?
Pardon me?
Is there anybody else on the?
No one else signed up. Do you like to comment?
No, I was just going to move on to the notice agenda.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the notice agenda, 2 items, resolution number 14-TAC-312 and 14-TAC-313.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the notice agenda. Mr. Walton.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Walton, Budget Administrator, speaking to item number 1 on the notice agenda, resolution number 14-312, notice of hearing regarding the 4th 2014 budget amendment for current expense and other funds. This is a notice of public hearing for the 4th 2014 budget amendment. Notice of the public hearing will be published in the Chronicle on December 2nd and the 9th. The hearing will be held on December 15th. The total budget amendment for all funds, which includes current expense, will be noticed as a revenue increase of $366,136, Expenditures increase in the amount of $1,147,582 for a decrease in fund balance of $781,446. The change in fund balance uses previously received revenue that was not appropriated in the original 2014 budget. The current expense portion of this amendment equates to a revenue increase of $5,000, an expenditure increase of $342,808 for a use of fund balance in the amount of $337,808. Any questions?
Steve, could you, of the $342,000 mentioned in current expense budget, what are the highlights? What are the high points on that for that expenditure?
Some of the bigger items are payouts of sick leave and vacation for newly elected officials that are moving into their elected offices. We have to pay them out. Those were some of the biggest items.
Those are the people who work for the county now and moving out of that position into an elected position.
That's correct. They can't carry their balances forward.
I knew that. I just wanted to make it public. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve.
Danette York, Director of Public Health and Social Services, speaking to item number 2, which is a notice of hearing regarding the proposed revisions to Lewis County Code 6.05 titled Animals. The hearing will be held on or after 10 a.m. Monday, December 15th of 2014. This is a notice of public hearing to take public testimony and comments regarding the proposed revision of the Chapter 6.05 for animals. Some of the changes include a more expansive definitional section with which more closely aligns with related state laws. They expand the notice requirements and procedural safeguards in place with respect to the declaration of dangerous animals, provide clear guidelines related to the disposition of impounded animals, and allow for Lewis County to reclaim costs associated with enforcement. The notice of hearing will be published in the Chronicle on December 2nd and the East County Journal on December 3rd.
Yep. Danette, what provoked this or started this process moving forward? Can you give us a little background?
Yeah, there was a case in Pierce County, and this, once we realized, the prosecutor's office realized that this case existed, we needed to change our code to bring us into compliance with what they found during that case.
Any questions for Danette?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the notice agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote on the notice agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 3 through 7, resolution number 14314 through 318.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Item number 3, resolution 14314 is the current warrants issued for the payment against the county. There were 124 regular warrants in the amount of $1,762,929.56, and there are also 235 payroll warrants in the amount of $218,143. Item number 4, resolution 14315, is a cancellation of warrants. From time to time, we have to cancel warrants, some of which are reissued. There are 3 warrants being voided, and 1 will be reissued. There's one in the amount of $840 at the Chehalis Children's Clinic that will be reissued. One for $608.14 to Deluxe Business Checks that will be voided, and one for $14.52 to Sunbirds, which will be voided. Karma's not here. Oh, so leaving this in my hands, huh? Item number 5, which is resolution 14-316, is a cancellation of delinquent accounts receivables from the roads fund. This came about because there was some receivable invoices that were sent to certain individuals, and they had the unpleasant experience of dying before they could pay these off. And so we're offering to cancel these 2 warrants totaling an amount of $2,725.70. So those warrants will be canceled with this resolution.
Danette York again, speaking to item number 6, resolution number 14-317. This is to transfer accumulated annual and sick leave for an employee. We had an employee that worked for Public Health and Social Services, which was out of Fund 104, and she has changed employment from our office to the county clerk's office, which is Fund 107. So we're required to transfer her earned leave from one fund to the other. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Robin Sleen with Public Works. I'm the administrative assistant, grants administrator.
Hold the mic down a little bit, will you?
Thank you. I'm here to speak to item number 7, resolution number 14-318, approving Tim Elsey, Public Works Director, County Engineer, as applicant agent, and Robin Sleen, Administrative Assistant, Grants Administrator, as the alternate applicant agent for open federally declared disasters and any possible future declarations that may occur December 31st, 2014 to December 31st, 2015. The Emergency Management Division of the Washington State requires Lewis County to designate an applicant agent and an alternate applicant agent to represent Lewis County for the federally declared disasters. Do you have any questions?
So you are the alternate for FEMA projects,
Correct.
like Looting House Bridge?
I know now. I knew that was coming up.
Okay.
Just asking. I just want to know who my alternate is.
Any other questions for Robin? Thank you, Robin. This is a discussion of the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments before I go? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote on the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we have 2 hearings this morning. The first is the hearing regarding the moratorium on marijuana purchasing, processing, and sale.
That's my personality. Electric.
Shocking. Yes.
Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, we're ready. You may. Now, let me first explain procedure. Procedure is we will begin with a staff report, which will be followed by a question and answer period. If there are any questions, if there are none, or if there are, we'll conclude question and answer, and then we'll have public testimony on the issue. So now you may proceed.
Thank you. Lee Napier, Director of Community Development for Lewis County, and I'm here to speak on Ordinance 1256. And this is an ordinance that the board set for today's hearing, and it's a moratorium to be renewed. And this moratorium would be renewed upon the establishments involved in the production, processing, and retail sale of marijuana and related products. So that translates to my department as a moratorium in the sense that we are not accepting any development permits for those types of activities. This moratorium is adopted pursuant to RCW 3670A 390. This is the method by which local governments may preserve the status quo so that new plans and regulations will not render moot by intervening departments on development. And so this is the 3rd moratorium that the board has considered on this. And during the first 2 moratoriums, which they're issued in 6-month increments, my staff and the Planning Commission have been working on discussing and developing development regulations. We have conducted, the Planning Commission has met several times. They started meeting in July. They've met the 8th of July, the 29th of July, the 23rd of September, and the 28th of October. They are also scheduled to meet again next Tuesday. They're going to continue their conversation on this topic with the intent of bringing to the Board of County Commissioners their recommendation within the next 6-month period, so prior to June 1st. With that, I'll pause for questions.
We've received a lot of questions about this, okay, let's see. Can you hear me now? All right. Received a lot of questions from citizens about when would they know when the Planning Commission is talking about this. How would they find out?
Well, the Planning Commission always meets the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, so it's a standing meeting. They can also check our website to find out if the information has been posted for upcoming meetings, or they may subscribe to a service that we have available through MailChimp. And also, what I neglected to mention is that the Planning Commission has established posting places where, similar to what the county commissioners, we post information available to the public, so the public could look at hard copies at certain locations. Make sure I have the list correct. So it's always available at the Timberland Regional Libraries, and then the Twin Cities, and then the senior centers located in Morton, Toledo, and the Twin Cities, Packwood, and Windlock. So it's all in accordance with our county code for outreach.
And if they wanted to call you, what's your phone number?
What's my phone number?
Or
That's a
what number?
tough question. 740-2606.
We don't go that far.
What is it? Is that number Glenn Carter hands out?
Are there any other questions? Then I'll close the question and answer period and ask if you would like your comments incorporated into the hearing.
Yes, please.
So be it. And we will open the hearing for public comment. There's no one signed up for public comment. We did receive an email from a gentleman who has published a letter in the Daily Chronicle regarding the marijuana moratorium, asking that we continue it in the hope that we will ban marijuana purchase, preparation, etc. in Lewis County, and that's the only other comment that we have. If anybody else that would like to comment on that issue? We will incorporate this letter into the minutes. Anybody comments? Hearing no further comments, I'll close the hearing and call for a motion.
I move that we renew the moratorium on the marijuana ordinance number 1256.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve ordinance 1256, renewing a moratorium on marijuana issues. Any other comments? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Second hearing is
Budget.
I got too many hearings in here. Somebody threw an extra one in here on me. Oh, this is all the same. Go ahead, Steve. This is on the adoption of the budget resolution and property tax budget levies.
Good morning again, Commissioner. Steve Walton, Budget Administrator. Resolution 14-319 is requesting adoption of the 2015 final budget. Copies of the resolution are available at the front of the room. RCW Chapter 36.40 provides requirements for the budget process for counties. The preliminary budget was submitted to the BOCC and the auditor on September 2nd, 2014 as required. Budget meetings were held in September and October, which allowed each elected official and department director to discuss their individual budgets with the commissioners. These meetings concluded on October 20th. A notice of this hearing was published on November 12th and 19th in the East County Journal and November 11th and 18th in the Chronicle. Copies of the preliminary budget were placed at the Centralia College locations in Morton and Centralia, as well as the Timberland libraries in Chehalis, Centralia, Windlock, Salcombe, and Packwood on September 25th. The preliminary budget has also been posted on the Lewis County website. This is the second of two hearings to take public comment and questions on next year's budget. The first budget hearing was held on Monday, October 6th. There was also an evening presentation of the preliminary budget on November 17th at 5:30 p.m. here in the courthouse. The final budget sets current expense revenue at $32,152,878 and expenditures at $35,296,390. The total revenue for all funds is budgeted at $96,360,606 and expenditures at $103,108,267. Also attached to this resolution is the 2015 salary grid for non-union employees. During the collective bargaining process, this 2015 salary grid may also be adopted for union employees. The recommendation is to adopt the 2015 final budget.
Okay. Questions from the public?
Colonel Ron Averill, 2523 Graff Road, Centralia. You're saying in here that you're on the agenda that you are going to establish the property tax budget levy for both the current expense and road fund. What is it? It was not in your packet.
That's going to be a separate hearing right immediately following this one.
Immediately following this, do you have a packet there?
We can make those available.
Okay. The other question I have is does this budget, or are you doing another resolution to do a shift from the road fund to the Sheriff's Department for the $17K that we usually have for DUI?
That is not permitted this year due to the limitations on the taxes and levies amounts that are allowable. So that shift will not take place in this. It would have to be covered by current expense or not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Steve Walton? Seeing no further questions, I'll close the question and answer period and open the hearing. Steve, would you like your previous comments to be incorporated into the hearing?
Yes, please.
You open the hearing. Wait, Ronnie, roll.
Thank you, Commissioner. Once again, Ron Averill, 2523 Graff Road, Centralia, Washington. I have no specific comments on items in the budget, as I believe the Board of County Commissioners, the county staff, the elected officials and their staffs have done their best to keep spending within expected resources. As I have stated in the past, my concerns are about the future more than the present. We can continue to anticipate that revenue will increase only at about 1% rate, and spending will increase at about a 3% rate. We are continuing to balance the budget by drawing down on the end-of-year fund balance. And at one time, this balance was about $11 million. By this budget, you're going to have an end-of-year fund balance of $6,558,003. We cannot let that fund balance go below $5 million, or the county will not be able to pay our bills. In my estimation, unexpected revenue should be considered one-time revenue and be reserved for one-time expenditures. We cannot expect such revenue will continue, so it should not be used to fund items such as personnel and salaries, as they will be recurring expenses. There will be continuing pressure to increase salaries and restore positions which were eliminated. We need to start thinking about a plan, reference what will be restored as revenue becomes available. At the rate the fund balance is being drawn down, there will be a point of diminishing returns where there will be no longer a fund balance to use. At the current course, we will eventually have to either raise taxes, make more cuts, or find another source of revenue. My real concern is that one of the areas that I studied while I was taking my international relations degree was international economics. And the international scene is not improving, it's getting worse. Japan has dipped once again into a terrible state. Europe is having huge problems. We are seeing an economy which has gone almost into stagflation, another term
And our economists are telling us that we're probably experiencing a new level of where economies are going. So we have to be very careful that we're not too optimistic on what the future is going to be and whether we're going to get funds to cover our expenditures. In my estimation, growth is essential to the future well-being of the county, and our focus must be on economic development. IPAT, the industrial port at Transolda, and our county ports are the engine to make this happen, and everything the county can do to make them successful should be a mandate, including investment in infrastructure to make them more attractive. I've given copies of this to carry for each of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? I would like to make a comment on the budget in general and where we are headed with it. Mr. Averill, your comments are well received, and as you are well aware, it's painful to adopt a budget that it shows a decreasing fund balance, and we're painfully aware of what that could result in. The 100 or so positions that were lost when I initially took office because we had some budgetary issues there, we could see further cuts in those things. Without additional revenue, there's only two ways you can balance this budget. One is additional revenue, and the other is elimination of expenses. It's no different from your household budget. You can either raise more money somehow, or you can cut some expenses somehow. And that's the only two options we have. Knowing that 75% of our operating budget is in law and justice makes it very, very difficult. Knowing that 80% of our budget is personnel, that makes it very difficult to provide the services that we are supposed to provide and not cut personnel at the same time. It's a balancing act that we have to use. Having said that, even though we budget a decrease in fund balance of some $3 million, we know that there are revenues out there that we have not fully accounted for, and we know that there are expenses out there that we will not use this year. So it's not as bleak a picture as what might be. However, we do know that we are going to be using some reserves. And this year we budgeted some $3.5 million in reserve use, fund balance use. I don't like calling them reserves. It appears that we will use less than $1 million of that. So even though it was budgeted at $3.5 million, we will only use about $1 million. That's not good. It's not good at all, but it's a better picture than was painted in the original budget. So that's my comment. Go ahead.
Thank you again, Colonel Averill. One of the things I wanted to add under your paragraph about estimation and about growth is another big piece that we're working hard on is solving our flooding issues. I believe that if we can solve those flooding issues, we'll have more people coming here, we'll have more economic development. People will not be afraid to move here. People will not be afraid to have their businesses here. So I think that's another piece that we as a county are working on to make this a more flourishing county than what it is right now.
And one other comment. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you look at that, the work that the Flood Authority, the Governor's Work Group, the representatives we have, and the governor have all put together in the last week, and you saw it on the paper on the front page a couple of times. All that work is finally paying off. We are closer than ever than a solution to flooding in Lewis County, and if we can say we're from Lewis County and from the Chehalis River Basin without somebody turning to us and looking to us and saying, isn't that where it floods? The minute that goes away, economic development will improve along the I-5 corridor and the Chehalis Basin. So there is some real hope with light at the end of that tunnel, and I see things getting better, and I thank Colonel Averill and Edna for their work on the Flood Authority and the Governor's Work Group, and our representatives, Richard DeBolt and John Braun, who have been working very hard on both getting that approved and getting it funded. So that will help economic development a great deal.
And along that same line, my last comment is economic development This board has been very supportive of economic development. We spent over $6 million in the two ports, Port Oceanos and Port Centralia, for infrastructure improvements. And just a couple months ago, we approved a $500,000 grant to do the traffic study for the IPAT development at TransAlta. And those things are moving forward. So we are more than doing our part, I think, in providing the funding that is available for those kinds of projects and get the infrastructure going. That's what we need to do. Are there any other comments from the public? Then I'll call for the vote on Resolution 14-319.
I move that we adopt 2015 Budget Resolution 14-319.
I second that.
Motion made and seconded to adopt Resolution 14319. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Walton.
Commissioners, Resolution 14-320 establishes the property tax budget and levy for both the general or current expense and road funds for 2015. This resolution will create two actions. One, it sets a budget amount, and two, it increases the county general levy and the roads levy by 1% over the previous year as allowed by Referendum 747. The budget amount sets a limitation that will only allow the county to collect up to the amount set by this resolution. For this reason, the budget amount is set higher than anticipated revenue in case new information is received after the adoption of this resolution. This resolution sets the county's regular levy budget at $11,900,000 and the county road levy budget at $11,500,000. This resolution also sets an increase of 1% for both the county general levy and county road levy over the previous year's certified levy collections. This is an increase of $116,368.78 for the county general levy and an increase of $110,911.19 for the county roads levy. These dollar amounts are calculated using the previous year's certified levy amount times 1%.
Thank you. Questions? Questions? Any questions from the staff? I'll close the question and answer period and we'll open the hearing. Steve, would you like your comments to be incorporated in the hearing?
Yes, please.
Then we will open the question or the comment period. Is there any comment from anybody in the public? Comments from the board? I have one comment to make. When you pay your property taxes, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that the county portion of your property taxes is about 1/3 of our budget, roughly. The rest of your property taxes is going to fund state programs and public schools, primarily schools. So when we pass initiatives like we did last November, 1391, that doesn't impact Lewis County's budget, but it does impact your home budget, and most of that money goes to the state to fund public schools. That's not a funding source for the county. We are limited to, as you can see, and this is the comment I want to make, out of an $11 million revenue stream, we get to increase it by $116,000, which is basically one, maybe 1.5 employees. That's all that we would be able to add if we were to add anything. But at the same time, our expenditures are increasing at the rate of about 3% a year. So this is the issue that we're stuck with. And we, the counties, have lobbied a little bit to try to allow counties and the property taxes to be increased, at least to cover the cost of inflation. We're not terribly in favor of that, but the counties are in favor of that. The overall county organizations are, and they're trying to get that some legislation approved for that. So pay attention to that. That may be coming out in the future. Even a 3% increase, if we were to go that route, would still barely make our expenditures. So And that's only one of our three major sources of revenue. The other major source is our sales tax revenue. And those are two of the big ones that we rely on. The rest are kind of little pots of money that we get. Comments, board? Then I'll call for the vote on resolution 14-320. Oh, we need to make motion first, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the resolution number 14-320, establishing a property tax budget levy for both current expense and road fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, seeing no further items on our agenda, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.